Good afternoon. I'm Rami Habib Eitzabag, co-founder of Lana Labs, the process mining company that was acquired by Appian in 2021. I've been developing solutions for the analysis and optimization of end-to-end processes for more than 15 years now. At Appian, I'm part of the product management team and work on the innovation and evolution of our process intelligence solution, Process HQ. So before showing you how to transform data into actionable insights with our process intelligence solution, I would like to motivate you once more to use your data to set you up for success with an example from sports. If you look at athletes, they continuously strive to outperform themselves and improve their pace and performance. Of course, in the end, to achieve better results and win races, to increase their personal satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. I, for myself, I'm a field hockey player and still compete in the over 40s national team in international competitions like the World Cup and Euro Cup, so you know approximately how old I am. And for field hockey, actually, you need a good stamina and pace, so that's very important. I and we, as Appian with our customers, always strive for gold. As we talk about gold medals, how many of you ran the 5K yesterday? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, good. I hope you enjoyed it in the altitude. So since I joined Appian, I always ran the 5K. So here's my result from this year. You see 28 minutes, or even more, 29 nearly. My goal is to finish within the top 5 next year. Okay, so I'm rank 35, top 5, ambitious goal. But as my benchmark, actually, I will take Mark Wilson, one of Appian's co-founders, who has an incredible pace with 7 minutes and 10 seconds per mile, ranking 3rd yesterday. So, having set my goal, I can determine now the gap from my performance to my target. That is, so my target is running the 5K with an approximate pace of 7 minutes and 10 minutes per mile. That means in aggregation, the total gap is 6 minutes and 33 seconds for the whole race, right? So I just updated my data from 2023, and they would have looked much better than this one, but yeah, so apparently my performance is degrading. So in total, I would need to improve by 2 minutes and 7 seconds per mile for about 3 miles. All right, so what do I need to do to improve my pace and my stamina? The first thing that I need to do is to understand my current performance in more detail. So we have 1 data point so far. That means I need to measure and use the data. Yeah, first of all, I need to measure, and I need to use my data for analysis and action. Many of us here wear a wearable device that records our runs in terms of pace, route, and heartbeat. I do that as well, of course. Every time I run, all the data of my run, that means pace, route, heartbeat, and heart rate, will be logged and displayed in my phone's app. In the business world, each process execution creates data and logs information. Looking at my heartbeat over time, I can see if my stamina increases and if I get more resilient. The heartbeat, while exercising, is a good measure to analyze fitness and performance improvement. Looking at the displayed map and route, I can see in which mile I run a good pace and where I lose important time. I can also see my heartbeat at each point in the run. Similarly, you will be able to make your process transparent with process intelligence and identify bottlenecks in areas where you do not perform as expected. Of course, I could run and practice without any device and any data, as I don't need it to run. But my time is precious and limited, similar to your time and resource in your companies. Hence, I want to make the best use of my time and be most effective with my running practice. As you see on the screenshots, there's a lot of information. Similar in our business world, if there's too much data, then it may also become overwhelming and it's harder to drive action. So it's good to get help. So with the data on my current performance, my heartbeat, my heart rate, my goals, I can consult now my personal coach or my AI in order to create an action plan and help me to make sense of all that data. That means, in this case, creating a training schedule for improving my pace and stamina for next year's run. My coach and the AI are able to dissect all data, focus on the right information, and create an according training schedule for the next month. So, however, the schedule by itself will not help, right? I need to change my routine and turn this into a continuous good habit. That means not only exercising every morning, but also monitoring my progress continuously. Now, while I run, I monitor my heartbeat and pace, and I can adapt if they change in order to optimize the effectiveness of my practice. Athletes practice every day and monitor their heartbeat, improving their endurance and performance. A lower heartbeat in high-performance situations show that a person is fit and healthy. Also, training in specific heart rate zones optimizes actually the training effectiveness. Your processes are your company's heartbeat. You don't want them to get distressed and get a cardiac crisis when high-performing. This means we need practice also in the business world. Practicing here means monitoring your processes, adapting, and improving the operations every day. In this way, we ensure that their effectiveness in high performance. That means, in general, that our processes stay fit and healthy. Continuous practice and analysis will lead to the best results. Your business processes are your heartbeat. Appian is your sensor, analyst, and coach in unity and sets you up for gold. All right. Now, similar to athletes, actually, companies aspire to be market leaders, win against the competition, become innovators, and be best in their industry sector. Each company has their long-term business goals that align to their vision and mission. The most common high-level business goals are displayed here. To achieve its mission and vision, every company formulates its goals, which are then broken down along organizational structure and hierarchy. So, what are your business goals for this year? Please raise your hand if one of the displayed goals matches your company's business goals. Okay, I was expecting nearly everybody to raise their hand. So the ones who haven't raised their hand, please let me know later what your business goals are. I'm very curious to learn. I was hoping I'd cover everybody. So in order to reach our goals, we create KPIs that help us to measure progress, but also to identify improvement areas. Here you see some example of KPIs that we encountered during our Process Insights Kickstart program and other interactions with our customers. Of course, they are not complete, but these are just some examples. For example, in order to increase productivity, our customers identified when the RPA bots ran into exceptions that needed then later on to be handled manually. The KPI they were interested in was occurrences of manual intervention, and this is something that you can easily see in your processes. Manual intervention causes extra work and reduces productivity. Knowing the reason and where in the process these exceptions occur help them to resolve the issues. Another good example is customer satisfaction. Some of our customers, competing especially in highly competitive markets, were interested in improving their service delivery. The less a customer needs to wait for their service, the better the customer satisfaction usually. Additionally, the customers feel happier if they have to submit information and documents only once and do not need to resubmit additional information later. So in order to increase customer satisfaction, our customer measured the KPIs, overall case duration, to look at the end-to-end process, response time from submission to response, and one-touch rate. One-touch rate in a way that the customer didn't need to submit additional information. So putting this together, we see here a general structure of company business goals and a KPI hierarchy. So we have high-level goals, and these, anyway, can be applied to any sector and company, this architecture. So in order to impact the company goals, we need to reach our departmental goals. In order to reach our departmental goals, of course, we need to be aware of our processes and improve our processes. So each department runs their processes, and for each process, we also have one or several KPIs in order then to drive improvement and optimization over time. And actually, we can directly follow the impact of our optimization to our companies and departmental goals, of course. Our process performance is measured with KPIs, as I said, and directly impacts our company goals. And this, in general, accounts for all processes, I would say. Just to repeat, your processes are your company's heartbeat. You need to measure it to know how you're doing and to know how to improve it, of course. If your heartbeat is healthy when high performing, then you're fine. And this is the same for your processes. If your processes are healthy, then you're fine as a company, of course, because you can react to changing demands and so on. So after defining a goal in KPI architecture, the question is, how can we actually measure our performance in our company? Of course, that's why we're here with process intelligence. Process intelligence is the evolution of advanced business intelligence and advanced BPM, leveraging AI and advanced data and process analytics capabilities for strategic decision-making and continuous improvement, ensuring that your efforts are not just efficient, but also effectively aligned with your business goals. Process HQ brings process intelligence to your organization. It enhances your decision-making by giving you unparalleled access to your business and process data and evolves into your coach to success. Relating to our morning session, Process HQ serves as your mission control, your coach, by allowing you to discover how your processes are actually executed with all its variants, with all its instances, by allowing you to identify delays or unexpected behaviors in your process. So for example, loops or long waiting times or extra work that you didn't plan, or maybe also just different orders of executions. And by allowing you to monitor your process performance and impact change in your organization continuously. So, in order to measure our company's performance, of course, we need data. The beauty is that your applications and external systems log data during process execution all the time. So data is there. Appian's data fabric unifies your data access and allows you to easily use your applications and external systems data. In this way, you can analyze it with Appian's Process Intelligence, creating your metrics and KPIs in order to monitor and improve your process performance over time. Let's jump into a brief example from order management. So please meet Paula, a business analyst. She has the task of improving the order management process. So the faster the company handles and delivers their orders, the faster they send their invoice, and hence they directly contribute to the company's revenue. So the faster the invoice is out, the faster people usually pay, if they're willing to pay, of course. So in general, this means reducing the cycle time of the order management process will directly impact the high-level goal of the company, creating high value. And it's important really always to, let's say, relate your process output to your goals, because often you also need to maybe justify certain products and so on. So we'll provide you with the data and the information to measure and in the end relate your work to the high-level goals of your department and your company. So in order to prove those process durations, you would like to identify, of course, inefficiencies and bottlenecks. For example, as I said before, long waiting times, long activity durations, or any kind of rework and loops. But at the same time, she's interested actually to identify also automation opportunities along the process. So this is what we'll bring with Process HQ. All right, let's go into our order management application built on Appian for Paula to look at what she has as a basis for her analysis. Generally, we I mean, often the apps are built in a similar way, or I observe certain patterns. So we see the main milestones here of the process, the according tasks, the status of the current open case, the history of performed tasks and actions, and the other details on the case. Often, applications are structured in such a way that you have these high-level milestones, right? And often, each milestone has even additional tasks, and sometimes even the tasks have further work items. So you have different levels of granularity. In this application, we will look mainly at the milestones, of course. But before we look at the milestones, there's a lot of information in such an application, actually. There's a wealth of data in each application. For analysis, we see here, for example, customer information, the region, the tier, priority, total price, and many more information items that we can extract or that are there in the record types in order to analyze our process. For process insights, these depict case data information that may have impact on the process performance. Similar to our sports example, we collect different data in order to identify what impacts our process and operations in a good or also in a bad way, because that's what we want to know, right? We want to find the best practice, but we also want to identify, of course, the bad practice so that we can improve it. So, besides all the case information, the milestones directly represent our process flow and show the process, how the process actually performed. So I enlarged this a little bit so that you can see the milestones. I'm not sure if you're able to see them. So we have a fairly simple process, actually. Orders received, then we have data capture, order processing, in transit, and delivered. So we have about 5 milestones, and let's say for our analysis, this would be now the very simple scope that we could start our analysis with. In order to improve our process, we need to make it, of course, transparent. So what do we need to make the process transparent? So we need, actually, for the analysis, we need our digital footprints that are recorded during manual or automated task and process execution. You'll find that information often in the audit history and when you use our record events functionality in our event history. If your process runs across several systems, then Data Fabric allows you to bring them together for analysis. So if your process runs over end-to-end or several systems that are involved, we can unify them and get the data of the other systems and bring them together for your analysis so that you get an end-to-end transparent view and can analyze actually a process over several systems and improve it also. So for process intelligence, we need event data. And each event consists of 3 mandatory fields, so the case ID. So it's, for example, in this case, the order ID, an activity name. So for example, order received or order data captured. And then we need at least 1 timestamp, right? Start or end. In the best case, we actually have both start and end because then we can also look at the activity duration. Additionally, events can have some sort of attributes, for example, the user or the automation type or whatever describes the event a bit more. With the automation type, of course, we can use that information to show the automation degree of our process in Process HQ automatically. So, as you see, all the information that you need for process intelligence is stored in your applications. You just need to use it. With process intelligence, you can measure your company's heartbeat and see when it comes into duress in order to avoid those situations in the future. Here, you see some exemplary KPIs and investigations our process intelligence performs for you. As I said, waiting time, so we're aggregating information of different flows, and you can, of course, always investigate these as well. So identify why this waiting time between order received and data capture is very slow. We can look at activity duration. We can, for example, look at count of loops or rework. So a loop is something where, let's say, process activities are repeated, either one directly or over several activities, let's say, along a sub-process in a way. And these are exactly the patterns that you want to identify with Process HQ in order to perform your process, because in most cases, a loop is an issue causes rework, slows down your process, and is behavior that you don't want in your process, of course. Of course, we can look at also other things like SLAs. Many companies have different SLAs, either internally or towards partners or customers. And of course, we have many more. There's different, let's say, ways how to define them, and then you can always investigate, find the root causes, and create your insights in order then to improve your processes over time. So let's dive into Process HQ to see how you can learn about your process by understanding its bottlenecks, delays, costs, and defect rates. I mean, that's an example here, example screenshots. We see some main KPIs, automation degree, average order duration, orders violation, SLA, so how many SLAs we violated. And below, you see some sort of automatically discovered process based on the event data. So the process diagram, nobody draw that. This is automatically generated by our system. And this is exactly what you want to see. So this is, let's say, this is where some sort of the beauty of Process HQ lies, to my mind, visualizing also the process so that you can actually see where you perform well. So we see here at the end of the process, we have some sort of red areas. So there's long slow waiting times and slow activities. And this is exactly where you would have to look at in order to improve your process. Or we can also identify a loop in the process, and we visualize that so that you can, then continue to investigate and identify your insights for your continuous improvement efforts. Once you have decided, for example, for one KPI, now the average case duration, you ask yourself, how can I actually improve, right? So what do I need to do? What causes this very slow duration? And we guide you with Process HQ through the analysis. So Process HQ suggests the most impactful blockers in your process. You see here, let's say, several different attribute categories that impact our process negatively. In this screenshot, for example, we see on the third part that a Pioneer solution slows down our process quite a lot. It's a shipping vendor. And improving, let's say, the cases that are run by where we use Pioneer solutions as one of our shipping vendors, this slows down our overall case duration. And reducing this or improving here, we have an optimization potential of 3 days and 8 hours of improving the overall cycle time by 3 days and 8 hours if we are able to improve all of these cases. So sometimes you want to also have more information about your analysis, so we're drilling deeper. In order to understand now the performance of Pioneer solutions better, Process HQ sets them in comparison with other shipping vendors. So Pioneer solution is highlighted here, and we see in comparison to Trans Global Connect and Velocity Freight, they're much slower, right? And at the same time, they have the highest value of cases, right? So continuing to analyze this and drilling deeper here has actually high potential for improvement and, and bringing great value into your optimization. So reducing cycle time, usually we can convert time into cost or into some sort of other value measure, for example, money or whatsoever. Revenue and similar. So reducing cycle time will directly, again, benefit your high level, your process goals and your high level company goals and department goals. After Process HQ has guided you to your insights, our AI co-pilot, your coach in our sports analogy, provides you with a summary of your findings and high level recommendations for next actions. So from the start to beginning with a few, let's say, drill downs, you see your process and you identify some sort of contributing factors to a process, let's say, to bad performance of your process, and you even get recommendations how to solve it. Well, Process Insights allows you to deep dive in every single element of your process. Data Fabrics Insights provides powerful capabilities to build end-to-end multi-process custom dashboards and reporting. And this is an end-user tool, so no developer needs to do, it's really for your end users, so developers are actually not involved here. The dashboard now lets you seamlessly monitor the desired impact of your change going forward, right? You can monitor your process alongside all of the key metrics for your processes, like cycle time, overall order volumes, SLAs, error rates, or active orders. This becomes your mission control center for the operations of your process. This dashboard is not just for passive monitoring, of course. No, we want to act. We want to be proactive, and we can be proactive and responsive by drilling into issues or taking action right away before they become bigger problems. For example, from this dashboard, you can navigate to a problematic order to get more details and take direct action and adapt your process execution to the better. Here, for example, by accelerating a delayed shipment. So, besides directly interfering in your process execution based on your findings, what we have seen now in the former slide, structural process improvement actions can be performed by, for example, automating single tasks or sub-processes via Appian's different AI and automation capabilities, or the adjustment of your application interfaces or other parts of your application via Designer or our new Composer. You have seen the Composer. Composer is some sort of AI-powered new feature that enables business, IT, and AI to work together to plan, design, and build applications, or change and enhance existing applications. So once you have identified an insight, you can use this to then define your changes and convert them into your application. As an exemplary next action, when customers identify high rework with Process HQ, for example, frequently resubmitted information because of missing data, the submission form could be, for example, enhanced to capture all required information from the beginning. And this would allow then customers to provide necessary information at first go, increasing the KPI, straightforward processing or one-touch rate, for example. But often small changes also in the application have large impact. One of our customers found out with Process HQ that an approval step for low volume requests were approved 99.9%, sorry. So they changed the structure actually of the process in such a way that these cases are automatically approved and a notification is sent later to the supervisor. In this way, they strongly reduce the workload of their valuable resource, the supervisor, and at the same time reduce process duration. And these are the insights that we generate for you. But we also observe actions derived from the insights that do not involve any changes in the application. For example, adding, shifting resources, policy or regulation changes, or improved work instructions. Traditionally, of course, training your employees or partners in order to perform their task more accurately is also a very common next action. The findings and the process transparency are then used to show best practices or examples of erroneous execution in order to enforce the learning impact. Process intelligence and process transparency are the core of improvement measures and drive these actions. So, I have to hurry a little bit, I see. Now we just go around the life cycle. So, while many of you probably think that you can only use process intelligence once your application has been launched, I really encourage you, everybody, to set yourself up for success from the beginning and already use Process HQ while you develop your application. This will support you in making sure your application is realized as expected, especially the process flow, and that you're in control of your process from day one of your launch. So start with good habits and keep them up. If you look at automation potential, use process intelligence in order to identify the most impactful automation candidates. For example, look for cases with no or low automation degree, or find out where automation maybe runs into an error. So because all this is reflected in process. For example, when humans need to handle exceptions made by RPAs or other automation. So these are examples that you could here identify in order to improve your automation. And then, of course, optimize. It's all about optimization and continuous optimization. With process intelligence, you can directly impact your company's goals, use the richness of your data to act, be proactive, analyze Monitor your process continuously and act on your insights in order to become better every day. Plant process intelligence into your company's DNA, please. So, success is a continuous path. Athletes run every day to stay competitive, become faster, and to win their races. You should do the same. Continuously monitor and improve your processes. Your processes are the heartbeat of your company. Take good care of them and practice every day so that they are executed with high performance and resilience in any demand and economic situation. And with this, I welcome our guests from McMutual to the stage. McMutual won actually the Innovation Award, so 1 gold medal. And the 2nd gold medal also for the partner Xebia. And yeah, congratulations from my side. And McMutual will tell us much more about their journey today. But before we start, first of all, I'm very happy that you're here. We saw already McMutual today in the keynote. And now, of course, we're curious about more details. Maybe before we start, maybe to get to know you a little bit, maybe please introduce yourself and your company and your role, if possible. Who wants to start?
Okay, I can start us off. So hello, everyone. My name is Michael Evans, and I'm a solutions architect at MagMutual. And MagMutual is a mutual insurance company. So we're excited to talk to you all today how we're implementing Process HQ.
Yes, hi, I'm Jim Gugamelli. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Innovation and Technology at MagMutual. I lead a number of different platform teams. Luckily, Appian is one of those, so I get to enjoy this conference and work with Michael and the rest of the team.
Thanks for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mudit Dikshit, and I'm from Xebia. I have an experience in designing and developing applications using Appian. And in MagMutual, from past like 2 years, I'm working with these guys to create all the applications right now, and I manage the team of developers there. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miguel Parado. I'm an account executive at Xebia, and I have the pleasure of managing the relationship between MagMutual and Appian. So I'm really looking forward to speaking more about what we've done with PHQ so far.
Okay, great. Yeah, welcome here. Yeah, I mean, as I said, we're really interested in your journey, and I think many of the people here in the audience maybe are in the beginning of their journey with Appian, also with Process HQ. Can you describe your journey with Appian, some of your challenges in the beginning of your journey that you wanted to solve, and why you started also using Appian? I mean, we heard some of the things today already, but maybe for the audience here to repeat, that would be great, actually.
Okay, yeah, I can take that on. So at MagMutual, as I mentioned, we're a mutual insurance company, our medical insurance company. And so that being that we have multiple systems that we use externally for holding our policy systems as well as our CRM. So before we had Appian, really users had to go into each one of those systems to interact with the data. And then it also kind of created a silo of the data where there was data in different elements that needed to be processed all in once. So with our old processes, what we saw was that users had to go into multiple systems to accomplish that. And so really we wanted a way to unify that data, and really a huge goal for us at MagMutual is to try to automate as many business processes so we can really have that efficiency for our policyholders. And so that's really where Appian came into that picture, where we could use a data fabric to unify it, and then as well with a powerful suite of APIs and integrations to be able to automate scenarios where we have to go and update external systems. So.
Okay, great. Yep. So it's a lot about unification, and I mean, what I think is super interesting that you actually unify data from different systems in one, let's say, or one or several processes. So I think this is also a case that we often see then later on for where Process HQ actually brings also a lot of value, being able to actually analyze the process over several systems.
Yeah, and exactly, like one of the big things is that now users, instead of having to use multiple systems, are able to do their actions in Appian, and then that will go in and update the data into other systems.
Okay, great. So Xebia, your partner, is also here. Can you touch on the nature of the partnership within your journey a bit more, if possible?
Sure. Xebia has been a critical business partner within our Appian journey. From the beginning, they really demonstrated a clear understanding of our challenges and our goals, particularly with really getting meaningful insights into our processes. It was something that we've kind of had as a challenge for quite some time, and they really were instrumental in getting us started within Process HQ and really starting to look at our processes in depth. So they're huge.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to add that the partnership is mutual, right? MagMutual. No, it's great. I think it's important to have a customer that has that innovative mindset. Probably makes sense why you guys got an innovation award. And Sheila is always talking about partnership, right? And not just with MagMutual, but also with Appian. I think what allowed us to succeed with this pilot of PHQ is the fact that you guys were so willing to jump on with the Kickstart program and help out. And I think Mudit will speak to it a little bit later, but it was such a fast-rolling initiative.
Thank you. Right, so we've learned a little bit of your journey, and now also the journey started with Process HQ. And often we get asked by customers how, like they ask us what process should we start with, or how should we start with Process HQ? What process did you choose for your first implementation and why? And maybe you can advise other people what makes a process a good fit.
Yeah, and so for our first process, we have at MagMutual, we have an online quoting tool where policyholders can come into our site. And the goal is to really get those users to bind a policy for MagMutual. And with it being insurance, there's sometimes complex logic, complex rules that go into getting a user to get to a bind policy. So we really wanted to get some insights where when there's drop-offs, when it doesn't follow that happy path, whether it's a user leaving the site or if requiring underwriting review or having to go through a different process. We wanted to see as a company and as a business whether if there's any trends around when that occurs, and then as well if there's any need to update our processes to make sure that those use cases, or if there's common scenarios where that's occurring, that we address that so we can try to make the process as efficient as possible. So to the question of what makes a good process, I think really when you're trying to get that insights to constantly improve, and our online quoting, it's customer facing, so we always want to try to give that to have the best experience. So really to try to use Process HQ to kind of help us guide to that continuous improvement there.
Yeah, and I can add to that too. It also was one of our processes that spanned across multiple systems. So we really start to get that real understanding of what that end-to-end process looked like across not just Appian, but across multiple systems involved in that process.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, I'm always super happy to hear our customers talking about Process HQ. And myself, of course, I'm a process mining and process analysis nerd. So I'm very happy to see how you're using Process HQ. So maybe now from the implementation side and more directed Zebia. So as you have to implement Process HQ, can you tell us how the implementation actually went? And did Process HQ change how you think about implementation for dashboards and KPIs?
Sure. So the implementation went really smooth. In terms of the insights and all the investigations that we get from Process HQ in order to identify the next course of actions for every application. This was really helpful. Talking about the dashboards and KPIs in our application, as Michael mentioned, that we have a lot of scenarios in which the application drops for underwriting review or let's say any manual intervention. So at that time, the reporting is a much needed thing for all of those users, and the Process HQ made our life a lot easier.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, I think the platform made it super quick and powerful. It actually was super impressive. We were on a call with the entire MagMutual team, and Sheila likes to catch us off guard sometimes and goes, "Hey, can I see if you guys can pull this off right now on the spot?" And honestly, I think it was we had an hour session, and within that hour session, with the help of Rami and Alex, we were able to quickly put together in dev and pull together some data points. And I think what's really powerful about the platform is that the data doesn't need to be residing in Appian, right? Jim and Michael touched on, they have a lot of other external systems. We were able to pull in those data points and still get those insights that I know is super valuable to the executives in the business.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Great. And I remember that that moment in our call. So I was like on the spot. It was great. Of course, I had to still sweat a little bit, but we made it. Yeah. So I mean, now we've heard why we choose Process HQ, what process, and also part of the implementation journey. You're still in the early stages of using Process HQ. What were your first maybe initial insights, or what have you found out so far?
Yeah, so what we found out is we had some inefficiencies within the process. But these were more dependent processes that ran within quoting. So what we had found was that there was a data refresh that was a completely separate process that was running. And through Process HQ and doing an investigation, we had kind of found out that this was a bottleneck within not only our process, but the automation rate that we were trying to get to from our online quoting application. So it uncovered, I guess, an issue that we didn't really know had that big of impact on an overall process. So it really allowed us to bring it to the forefront, show to leadership and to the rest of the team the true impact that this was having on our process, and really holding us back from achieving that automation rate and that straight through processing that was really intended for online quoting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yeah.
I just, in terms of the, in terms of just the reporting, yeah. We just begin our dashboard and reporting from the, traditional methods of reporting in this case. And as we got to the, first insights of Process HQ, we just, we were really very excited to use it right away. But along with that, we had a lot of questions in order to, how to map our current application workflow to what Process HQ prerequisites are, right? So, and that's when, Appian's Process HQ SME team helped us out with spending some meetings, and, the creating of that KPIs and process workflow came from like whole development effort to like within few minutes. Yeah. So this was really helpful.
That's great. So, and that's also something that we often see, that the transparency of the process actually, of course, what you don't know, and suddenly you know a lot because you see the process, and then, of course, new questions arise, and we can start to analyze and optimize them. So, thank you. Yeah, we now saw the first insights, and of course, Process HQ is a technology, and there's people using it. So, how did you get stakeholder buy-in, and how have you involved them? Have you involved them throughout your Process HQ journey? And what was maybe the first reaction of your business stakeholders?
Yeah, and so as I kind of mentioned with our systems, we are using multiple systems for it. So the data does live in multiple places. And so really one of the things we wanted to use Process HQ for was a POC to show the business how we can unify that data into a simple view for them to be able to understand and really start driving actions off of that data. So that's where we started off Process HQ as a POC.
Yep.
And so they were very impressed around how just we could grab it from other systems with the data fabric and really display that to end users. So we're in the initial phases, but the business is very excited to see what we can pull into that system, and really our KPIs and metrics, with it being in different systems, it can be very difficult to try to track how long something takes when a user has to hop into multiple systems, or really to get that insight. And so I think with Process HQ, really to be able to show that trend, and then after you see the data, the biggest question is, what are we going to do about it? So to really give them that investigation points and kind of investigation ideas, I think that's really big for our business, and they're very excited about it.
Okay, great. So some sort of early involvement from the business from the beginning, so show them early and maybe get direct feedback, right?
It definitely helps. It definitely helps. And then, even now, all the new features and enhancements that we have planned, You know, once we get to that kind of metrics point of that feature, the business, you know, you always hear stakeholders like, all right, well, can we use Process HQ for that? So, you know, that interest is really growing as we continue, you know, just based on the POC and what the potential they see.
Awesome, great. So I think we're coming to our last question. Continuous improvement, of course, it's only a tool, but also requires, let's say, change in daily habits. How will you create continuous improvement as a good habit within MagMutual? I know you're super innovative and probably you have already many good habits. How does this fit into your mindset of continuous innovation as well?
Yeah, and so we're, as mentioned, one of our big goals is to automate and try to innovate as when possible, but really we need data to kind of prove that our automation and innovation is making an impact. And so I think really with Process HQ, it allows us to, one, see where we need to focus more on our automation and innovation, and then second, to make sure that what we're doing is making a powerful impact so that we can compare what the trends were before we implemented kind of our continuous improvements and make sure that it's getting the results that are expected. So.
Okay, great. Anyone wants to add anything?
It's really data-driven decisions, right? It's really, you need the data. So it's really providing that to the business so that we can make informed decisions.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can just add one thing that MagMutual is showing through their continuous innovation and improvement is that it's never too early to start with PHQ, right? So I think one mentality that used to be in the past with process mining was, when do we start this in our journey, right? Is it year 2, year 3? I think MagMutual is a really good example where it's never too early. If anything, I'd recommend start sooner, right? If you can get those data points and those insights into the hands of the business, it's just gonna make the remaining journey a lot smoother.
Yeah, and then just one final point to add is that I feel like really to kind of, like you said, that data-driven decisions where instead of just saying this helped out a lot, or we can give actual numbers, actual percentages of what impact the technology that we're providing is providing, I guess.
So yeah, thank you once more.